Hello, my name is Jeff Allsopp, and I've been a teacher here at Ephrata High School for about 5 years. But before that, I started out in the military. I graduated from Central Washington University in 1995, and I was in ROTC, so I went into the Air Force as an officer and a pilot, and started out in Lubbock, Texas, where I went to pilot training at Reese Air Force Base. It was joint specialized undergraduate pilot training, so we had students from the Navy and we had students from other countries in our class, which was pretty awesome. And spent about a year there, and then went to survival training at Fairchild Air Force Base in Spokane, and then on to my primary aircraft training, which was to fly C-21s, which is a Learjet 35, little business jet that we use for VIP airlift, flying generals and Congress around, things like that. And so went to Germany and had an assignment there. I flew for 4 years all around Europe and Africa. I went to every country in Europe and most of Africa, and out into the far reaches of our area was the Stan lands, we called it, Afghanistan and Turkmenistan and Azerbaijan and all kinds of different countries that I got to go experience, which was pretty awesome when I was in my early 20s. And then after doing that for about 4 years, I was moving to fly C-130s, which is a big 4-prop cargo airplane, moving to Alaska. But before I moved, my heart stopped beating. I had a medical issue come up and I could no longer fly for the Air Force, so we ended up moving to Texas, where I was the primary flight instructor teaching Air Force pilots how to fly the airplane that I flew when I was in the Air Force. So I worked in Fort Worth, Texas for about 10 years as a primary flight instructor for all C-21 pilots. I also taught civilian business jet pilots in the Learjet 25, 35, 55, Challengers, another big business jet, kind of like a G6. After living in Texas for 10 years, I had an opportunity to move back to Washington, and I started teaching survival training. It's global climate wilderness survival training on a federal contract with a buddy of mine from the Air Force. He was a B-2 bomber pilot, and we traveled around the country teaching wilderness survival to U.S. Customs and Border Protection, drug interdiction agents, the ones that are flying around in the airplanes and running around in boats trying to chase drug running activity. If they were to crash or have an issue, how to survive in any climate. So we were teaching mountain cold weather, we taught water survival, we taught desert, jungle. So I got to go quite a few places and teach folks that. And then I kind of ended up working at the schools. Since we lived in Ephrata, started coaching, started working in Gear Up as a tutor, and then eventually took over the Gear Up job as a director. And completed another degree for teaching science, and was able to start working at the district here full time. It was a challenge having my career end when I was young. I only ever wanted to be a pilot, and when I could not do that anymore, I really didn't know what I was going to do. It took me a couple of years to kind of land and get on track with what was going to work for me, and eventually, after all those different job changes, they were all related to aviation, they were all related to teaching. It just kind of made sense to translate to teaching in the school setting, since I already worked here as a coach and in Gear Up. So I really like teaching high school. It was not on my dream sheet of anything I ever wanted to do, but as my life changed and things adjusted, it ended up being a career path that I was probably supposed to do all along. So I'm really happy to be here, and being able to coach and teach has been a really awesome experience. I have had a good partner all the way through everything. Mrs. Allsopp and I got married after college. We met at Central, and then she's been with me on the whole journey, so that's been pretty awesome. My daughter Maya was born in Germany, so she got to have the opportunity to be overseas, even though she was just a baby. Emily was born in Texas, so our adventures and travels, even though some of them were due to adversity, all kind of helped make us more well-rounded. And I've had to adjust my reality a few times, and that's definitely made me try to not sweat the small stuff and always know that if one door closes, you just got to open another one. And it's been a pretty awesome experience. Being able to teach this aviation class at the high school, I get to teach survival, I get to teach aviation, which has always been my passion. And I get to introduce it to a lot more people now than I did before. So it's been a really awesome experience. I suppose advice, if the military can be a great career path, it can be a great job for a short time if you don't stay in forever. My plan was to stay in forever, and that didn't work out, but everyone has their own path. I think we work on trying to encourage kids to do community service for their clubs, to do community service for their churches, etc. And this is another type of service to your community, to your town, your nation, etc. And I think that it's hard to understand what it's like to be in the military unless you are or have done it. There's a huge sacrifice. Some unfortunately pay. Their sacrifice is not coming back home from a war or conflict. But even those who do return home, the sacrifice in time away from family, time away from your spouse, it can make, it's really a challenge sometimes. And but if you have good teamwork and kind of that vision, and you know that you're working on something bigger than yourself for others, it really can be meaningful. And that's kind of what I always took from it. So it's a great opportunity to go see other places, to do other things, to broaden your career skills, broaden your life, global perspective. Living in Germany and traveling to Africa really opened up my eyes to a different way of living around the world, and it helped me appreciate the way we have it here. I know things are kind of crazy right now, and they've been crazy at different times in our history, but overall it's a pretty great place to live, and I'm happy that I got to be a part of the armed forces, which is a big part of why this is even a country to start with. And so it's pretty special to be able to do that.